Welcome to this Quick Take Rapid Learning module. Today's topic, turning objections into objectives. Sally sells collection services. It's a brutally competitive business, and she faces objections all day long. Bill collecting? Oh, we can do it more cheaply ourselves, a buyer might say. Or, we don't want outsiders harassing our customers. Or, we're a small company. We don't have many delinquent accounts. Used to be, Sally worked hard to counter these objections. She'd show prospects why they couldn't do it more cheaply themselves. She'd explain that her company's bill collectors were trained to be polite and courteous. She'd offer testimonials from other small companies that used her services. None of that seemed to matter much to her prospects. The more she tried to counter these objections, the more buyers seemed to hang on to them. These days, things are different. Sally still gets lots of objections, but she's having better conversations with prospects and getting more appointments because Sally's given up on countering objections. In this quick take, you will learn a simple technique that can sometimes, not always, but sometimes, help you handle the toughest objections without being offensive, pushy, or argumentative. Specifically, you will learn why traditional approaches to countering objections are often counterproductive. Why an objection is something to be embraced, not refuted. And how to use objections to get you and your buyer working with each other instead of against each other. Here's the problem with trying to counter objections. It turns what should be a mutually beneficial conversation into a verbal ping-pong match with your buyer. You're on one side of the table and the buyer's on the other. The buyer serves an objection, you volley it back. The buyer returns it or launches another, and on and on. Now let's consider a different approach. Instead of countering an objection, turn the objection into an objective, a goal that you and your buyer are working together to solve. Here's how. Step 1. Embrace the objection. Don't run away from it. Try to minimize it or explain why it isn't so, all of which just makes buyers hold on to their objections more tightly. So, when Sally's prospect Rick says, "We can handle collections more cheaply ourselves," she takes his side instead of pushing back. Sally says, "Of course, you're already paying your staff to do collections, so why should you pay an outside company on top of that, right?" Rick was all set for a rebuttal, but he didn't get one. And now he's thinking, this is a salesperson who might actually understand my situation. But wait a minute. What if Rick's objection isn't real? What if it's just something he said to get Sally off the phone? Well, before she goes any further, Sally has to find out. So she moves on to step 2, validate the objection. She asks Rick, "So let me ask you, just hypothetically, if it weren't for the cost issue, is this something you might consider?" Rick's answer will tell Sally what to do next. If he says yes, she knows she's encountered a valid objection, and she can move to the next step. If he says no, she can probe further to determine the real objection and whether this is an opportunity worth pursuing. Next is step 3, convert the objection into an objective. Sally is now in a position to convert Rick's objection into an objective that she and Rick share. She says, "So what we'd need to do is come up with a collections program that actually reduces your operational costs, let's say by 10%. Would that be a goal worth exploring?" "Well, sure," Rick says. "If you can reduce my costs by 10%, I'm interested." What has Sally done here? She's redefined the objection, a negative, into an objective, a positive, that she and her buyer will seek together. That takes us to the 4th and final step, gain commitment. Sally seeks Rick's commitment to help her achieve this objective. She says, "Well, I think we have a good chance of hitting that goal. But first, I'll need to get a better understanding of your collections process. Would you be willing to help me with that?" Note that Sally doesn't take sole responsibility for solving Rick's cost problem. She insists on making it a shared objective, something they're both committed to achieving. If Rick's not willing to give her that commitment, it's a signal that something else is going on. But if he does commit, she and Rick are now working together toward the same goal. To sum up, let's briefly review the 4 steps for converting an objection into an objective. First, embrace the objection. Don't try to minimize it or overcome it. Second, validate the objection. Make sure it's not a smokescreen or a veiled no. Ask, if it weren't for that, is this something you'd consider? Third, convert the objection into a shared objective. So what we would need to do is, and fourth, gain commitment. Confirm that the buyer is willing to work with you to achieve your shared objective. Thanks for watching. Now click on the quiz button to test your knowledge on this subject. And please take 15 seconds to click on the link and fill out an evaluation of this program.